On this episode, we sit down with country artist Bryan Martin. We talk all about his brand new album titled Years in the Making and more. We hope y'all enjoy. Let's go.
Hey y'all, this is Bryan Martin. You listen to Rock Down South.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Rock Down South, your home for rock and country music. I'm your host, Mark, and today we have another incredible show for y'all. We have Bryan Martin in the house today. He's got an incredible sound, and we're here to talk about some new music. How are you doing today, Bryan?
Man, I'm hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. How you doing, brother?
Dude, I can't complain, man. I can't complain. All right, well, let's get into some standard questions and just get those out of the way first. Tell me a little about your background. I know you're originally from Louisiana, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm from just over south of Shreveport, over in Logansport, Louisiana. On the Sabine River there, and that's where I grew up. And it's just hunting and fishing, and just being a working man working in the hay fields, and then I wound up growing up working in the oil field, just like everybody else around me. You either go to work on a farm or you go work in the rigs.
Yeah, I did read that about your bio. Oil rigs, singing in church, car accidents, and a bunch of other life that happened before you got into the country music scene.
Yes, sir. Bull riding, dirt track racing, everything in between. Yeah.
That's pretty incredible background, and I'm sure you lean on that when it comes to writing your music, having that rich background that other people don't have.
Yes, sir. I lean on, if I ain't lived it, I don't write it. And I've always been a firm believer that if I was to ever write something I ain't lived, I better get ready to.
So when did you actually get into playing music? I mean, it sounded like you were doing it in church, maybe when you were younger, but when did you kind of get serious about singing country music and writing songs?
Man, I've been doing it since I was a kid, and I've been just, you know, my mama used to drag me around the church and uh, make me sing, and from the time I was 6 years old, she started recording me and dragging me around. But when I got around 13 years old, I got burnt out on singing, and I went to working in the hay fields and uh, riding bulls and doctoring cows, doing whatever I could do to make a little money. And I bought my first vehicle on my own, from what I made working and as a kid, when I got my permit, I bought my own little $800 S10 Blazer, 1989 S10 Blazer. It wasn't even spin out in the sand, but it had them Walmart speakers in there, we cross-wired because I didn't know how to wire them up right. So it was like, I just grew up doing everything myself, man, just learning how to work on stuff myself. And when I when I got into songwriting was when I had a little short stint in the military when I was 19 years old, and when I got back from that, I wrote my first song from a suicide note and a misfired 357, and I started realizing that I had a lot more to live for. I had a lot of people out there that needed me in a different way, and I found out how to express myself. Instead of just holding it all in, I found out a way to express myself that, you know, normally goes over people's heads that you're really trying to talk to when you put a melody behind it. Uh, and in the long run, it's really been a great saving grace for me, man.
Wow, that's incredible. And speaking of music and writing music, let's talk about the new album, man, because I really enjoyed it. So tell me first about the making of this album and the mindset going into it.
Man, it's just trying to let people know that there was a lot that went into this, overcoming circumstances and overcoming the things that I've been through way before We Ride blew up. It's kind of like some people may think I just came up out of nowhere, an overnight success, but it's been, like I said, almost 30 years doing this, and I'm 37 now, and it's amazing. I'm blessed with the opportunity, but I still slip, I still fall, I'm still human. I'm still learning how to do this. It's a I'm not. I wasn't made to be an entertainer. I was made to be a writer, and I'm trying to learn how to be. Uh, you know, I'm trying to learn how to just let myself be me, and I'm grateful for the fans that relate to me and just let me be me. And I don't have to play the game, and I don't have to blend in, and I don't have to sell out to be who I am. And that's kind of like this whole thing has just been years in the making, and I'm just hoping that this is something that is a slow burn and not something that comes in and goes out like everything else.
So I listened to the album multiple times, cold start to finish, not knowing which songs were singles, and I really liked the album. But I wanted to talk about 5 songs that I like the best, and we can chat
Yes,
through
sir.
them kind of one at a time. But kicking things off, here's some of my notes that I really enjoyed. Wishbone. I like that track, man. That was like an outlaw southern rock song that was super fun, and I really actually enjoyed it more listening on the second and third time.
Yeah, yes, sir. That one came from everybody coming up to me and going, "Hey, man, now that you got a number 3 song on country radio, what are you gonna follow it up with?" And I'm like, "Man, I wrote close to 3,000 songs before I made it to town." I said, I didn't even know this was going to be a number 3 song, so I don't know how to tell you, you know, what's going to be the next number 3. All I know how to do is just keep breaking the wishbone, you know.
That one was a
Yeah.
good one. And then next, Cowboy in This Indian, that song. Man, that one just has like this groove to it that just makes you want to tap your foot. And I really like the storytelling lyrics that you have in that one.
Yeah, man, that's more about my grandfather. He died when I was 3. He drank himself to death, but he was in the Navy and was adopted when he was dropped off on at an adoption agency when he was a baby. So we never knew our real last name. He was adopted by a German family out in San Antonio, and I never really got to know them. The story I've been told is, he got back from the Navy. He got a letter from the president and all this stuff. These medals and stuff, and he had picked up drinking in the Navy, and he met my grandmother, who was a dirt poor farm girl, Cherokee girl out in East Texas, and he decided he was gonna marry her, and he was disowned by his family that adopted him because he was supposed to marry into a wealthy family, and so I never got to know the people who I got the name from, but I can say that I carry the name with pride because he did, and that's what that song's about.
Oh, wow. That's a great story.
Thank you, brother.
Next song that I really liked was Wolves Cry, man. That song is excellent. I love your vocals on that one. I like the background steel guitar, and I actually think this one I think might be my favorite one off the album. And then of course towards the end I really like how you kicked it up a notch with that guitar solo.
Oh yeah, wolves cry, man. Yeah, that's part of my being native. I wanted to give a give a little shout out to my heritage, and also to the ones that are like me that you know are just we're real territorial when it comes to our family and what we worked hard for. And if it don't it depends on don't matter what race you are. Like if you worked hard for something, you take pride in it. No matter what comes to the door, you're the wolf. You gotta you got no matter what comes to the door, you're the wolf at that place. And you gotta you gotta stand and protect your family no at all costs, and you gotta stand and protect what you believe in, and that goes for this country and everything else.
I couldn't agree with that more, man. All right, the next one, Getting for the Gone. Man, I just thought this was a fun one. This one puts a smile on my face when I listen to it.
Yes, sir. We had wrote 5 songs that morning, early morning, and I had to go in the studio that day, and me and my friend Ben Roberts had already been writing, and I had like 30 minutes before I had to be at the studio to start recording. I said, "Man, I got this one hook that just keeps running through my head. We need to go ahead and knock it out." And he's like, "What is it?" I put I put the buy after good and the getting for the gone." And he's like, he kind of stopped for a second. He's like, "Was it?" I said, "Goodbye," and getting gone. I said, "I put the buy after good and the getting for the gone." He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah." So we just started writing it, and it's kind of telling my story. I put a decade and change on an old bar stool. and it's talking about everything. I played over 1,000 honky tonks in the last 15 years with less than 10 people in it. Now I'm getting a chance to do this for a living. It's like, I ain't got time to dwell on it or stay in the moment. Sometimes I got to keep rolling, So I put the buy after good and the getting for the gone, and that's where that song came from. It was fun. We wrote a lot of good songs that day, but that was my favorites.
Yeah, I like that one. And that kind of leads me into the next song, which is the title track that I really enjoyed this one. Years in the making, man. This song's fantastic. And it sounds like it's obviously talking about your sound being years in the making.
Yeah, man. Well, most people don't know that all the songs that they hear now came from a little. I went a year going through my divorce where I hardly got to see my kids, and um, I, I I stayed in the camper behind my mom and daddy's house. Sometimes without even any electricity, and I wrote close to 800 songs that year just in that camper, and all the songs that blew up, they all came out of that camper, and I was literally you know, fighting for my life, to try to get my family back in a good situation, a good position because of COVID and everything else. And I'd worked my whole life away, in the oil field, and I was watching everything just kind of disappear in front of my eyes, and I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And whenever I lost, them. I just said, I just dug in. I said, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it make sense. I'm not gonna go to my deathbed saying that, I spent most of my time locked in a room trying to write something that I could never say. I'm gonna say it, and I want my kids to know that, like, Daddy had to do this for them, and he had to uh, find a way of coping with his emotions and things that I was never taught to do. And years in the making is just that one of those things where it's like I felt like I was left in that dark place for a while, and didn't know how to get out of it, but I didn't ever ask for help either. And so, like, when it talks about that part where it says, you know I stalked that train, I nearly went insane there in the dark alone. I said one last prayer, I watched it vanish in the air, and then I heard that whistle moan, because it's like when I finally realized I wasn't on my own no more. I finally realized that God had me, and all I needed to do was reach back out and take his hand, and he would show me the way. I was just too stubborn. I was too busy running the train off the tracks, and so it's like I just really feel like there's so many people that we get addicted to suffering, and um, I got addicted to suffering for a long time, and that suffering turned into a beautiful sound and a beautiful song. But at the same time, you know, I hope nobody ever puts themselves through that much just to get a song. you know.
And that's one thing people like about your music. It's it's honest, and you have that heart and soul and the blood, sweat, and tears that you obviously put into the songs and the songwriting. But moving on to your actual sound, what I'm hearing, because I'm a little bit more of a melody person. I'm not as much of a lyrics person.
Yes, sir.
But let me see if I can explain this, because I'm not even a musician. But one of the things I really like about your sound that I think just kind of separates it from the most out there is that your songs are a little bit kind of on that slower tempo side, stripped down. Like no excessive instruments or background music, and it's not overproduced, but your songs are still rocking and they're still catchy, man. I don't know how exactly you do that. That seems like a very difficult thing to kind of like balance.
Man, most of the time, see, I didn't learn how to play guitar until you know I was in my mid 20s, and I only played one note at a time. I wrote close to 500 songs with just a one note melody in my head. I could hear it all, but I couldn't play it. And I finally taught myself a little bit at a time. But it's like a lot of times I just had to let you know, what I was feeling in my soul resonate through my lyrics, and my I kind of like learned my melody through how it was resonating within me. So it's like I always told myself I'd never water that down, and um, the dynamic of that became, bigger than I could ever imagine. It's like it's something that I'm like sometimes I'll feel like, you know, some songs I can play acoustic and they resonate even harder than they, even better than they do with a band. And it's like usually that's not the case. Usually it's the other way around. And I just realized that that's I learned how to just play by feels and feelings, and I learned how to you know to write those melodies that way, and I think that's how it resonates within the listener too.
Yeah, I don't know. Just for me, it seems harder to write that catchier song that's on the slower end, you know?
Oh, it is.
It's kind of like you really have to hit the melody, that vocal tone, lyrics just right. And then what I like about you is you specifically know how to leave space in your songs so that they can breathe and you're just not hitting us with vocals or guitar every second, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I learned that if in those breathing moments, what people don't realize is a lot of that comes from me having to stop myself from getting choked up in the moment and when I'm writing it. And then I'll have to like think about it, and because a lot of times these songs just come out, man. Like I never wrote a song down in my life. Uh, they always just come out kind of like a freestyle, I've always it's always just been in my mind, like running through my mind, and when it comes out, those little brief moments and stuff that the song takes time to breathe is really the times when I've had to stop myself and go, all right, it's getting kind of emotional here, or it's getting like tense here, and I've had to kind of, realize that that's where my song, when I write it a certain way, no matter what, I can't break those breaks because that's what I felt in the song when I wrote it, and you know, I've never went back and tried to revisit a song and change the way it was originally wrote, or make it more of this or make it more of that. I've just always known that the way it came out, the way it should be.
Hmm. It definitely seems like this is stuff that you worked out on the acoustic and it wasn't made in the production studio after the fact. These are songs that you crafted and, you laid the foundation right there and, didn't over frill it with too much stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to release a work tape album one day, let everybody hear what it sounds like.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I just like it. I think that these songs are, for another artist, it would seem that it would be kind of scary to make because it seems like you got to be really vocally exposed with some of these songs that are a little bit on the slower side. And, you got to hit all those magical moments to make a good song that's on the slower side. That's going to be good enough for radio, but, it's not the super poppy and catchy like everybody's going towards.
You gotta definitely, and here's my biggest tip for anybody out there that's writing songs. I got Towns Van Zandt tattooed on my arm, man. I'm a three chords and the truth kind of guy, and my scars are what make me. I don't hide them. I roll my sleeves up every night and show people my scars, uh, and I think that more than anything, you can do all those things on a stage, but if you don't do it in the writing room, you're you're coming in with an empty gun, man. You're coming in with a you know if you my biggest thing is I've never said Silver and Gold I didn't write. My friend Ben Roberts wrote it, and that's I don't usually hardly ever record songs that I don't have some part of writing in, and but my friend Ben, we wrote so many songs together, and I heard that song, and it was like I was going through that moment of just like, man, I felt that, like I felt like I could have wrote that, and I even picked on him. I said, I think you wrote that. I think you wrote that about me, and I think you just didn't include me on the writing session. But it's like, but it's and but I've learned that if you're not emotionally connected and emotionally wrecked sometimes on stage by these songs, and the crowd can't feel your attachment to it, uh, eventually they're going to see through it. And and I've always left myself just as vulnerable on stage as I was in that writing room, and I've always put it out there for the world to either pick it apart or embrace it. And my biggest thing is like I challenge anybody to pick it apart, and I challenge anybody to embrace it, because there's a lot of people out there that sometimes they're not ready to embrace it. But I love the moments when I watch in the crowd when people are hit by surprise of a lyric that really strikes a chord with them. And normally that guy or that person in the crowd is usually like that skeptic, or that person that's really harboring a lot of things inside of them. They let it out right there in front of you. It's like, man, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to break those hearts of stones, and uh, break through to break through the generational curses that we've been passed down for so long. And just let people know that, hey, man, I'm I'm bearing my soul up here. And I hope that that don't make me weak. That makes me strong, and it makes us all strong to be able to do that, and to be able to embrace the music and let it move us the way it's supposed to. And it's not always a good time. It's not always a tailgate. It's not always chugging a beer and dancing around. This is some real shit we're going through on a daily basis. If you came here to get away from all that, that's great. But I hope you come here to see my shows and to embrace it and move forward through it, and see it as something that's not only beautiful, but it's healing in so many ways, to be able to take moments like that, and instead of push them aside and listen to a good time song, push them aside and have a good time listening to a hard time song.
All right, man, switching things up a little bit. What's it like having a hit song on the radio with We Ride? Because I remember listening to that song when it first came out. I've been following you for a little bit, and I listened to it and I was like, man, this song's great. And then, it's like 2 years later, or year and a half, 2 years later, I'm hearing it on the radio. I'm like, oh my gosh, that song came out a little while ago, and now it's on the radio where it deserves to be.
Man, it was crazy. Uh, I went home that day when I wrote it, and I had been playing $400 a night on Barstool out in Texas still, and couldn't get a booking agent, couldn't get nothing. And I had Beauty and the Struggle and More to Shine and all those songs already out. And I had went from 50,000. I had 50,000 monthly listeners, and I jumped to 1 million. I still couldn't get a booking agent. And I was playing 17 shows in 10 days, and driving around in a little Scion, man, and getting arrested for sleeping in my car. And, when FAFO dropped, I was in jail for sleeping in my car outside of a little venue, So it was like, um, I was like, man, what do I got to do to get somebody to book me? And they're like, well, according to chart metric, yada, 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 you got about a year and a half before anybody will work with you, because you're at like 68,000 in chart metrics. And I'm like, what the heck is a chart metric? And so I looked it up, and they're like, well, it's based on your social media, it's based on this, it's based on that. And I was like, man, Bailey Zimmerman, was like, every time you scroll the video, he had 3 songs that he was on there. You see, I love Bailey. He's one of my one of my best friends now. But he's like, you just scroll through there, and it's just him smiling, singing a different song. He took over twerking on Instagram. I mean, this guy, this guy's doing it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pop up on Bailey's timeline. That's what I said that night. And and I said, that's what they want. I'll give them that. And I wrote that song with my friend Vern, my drummer. He was staying with me at my house. He never wrote a song in his life, you know. And we were sitting there, and I said, man, no matter what, if they say I can't make it as an artist, no matter what, I've been known to write a few songs, And so I just got there, and that song literally probably came out in 5-6 minutes, and
Wow.
it's probably the easiest song I've ever written. But not only that, it was, you know, it's crazy because, it's got so many different off beats in it that, most people wouldn't really ever believe you. I wrote it with a drummer, because it's like it's got a five beat on one part, a 6 beat in another one. And it took us a long time to get the Nashville um, standard. When we went in there to record it, they were like, well, we're just gonna change it to a 4/4, and even the label stood with me and said, no, it needs to be the way it was written, because if you change it to a 4/4, it's just gonna be another song, you
Yep.
know. And
Yep.
and so we we kept it the way it was. We fought for it. It took about 45 minutes to get the boys to get down with doing it like that, and we we knocked it out. And within 2 weeks, man, after I put that song on, I posted 10 times a day for the first week, and within about a week, I'd done what they said I couldn't do in a year and a half, and in 2 weeks, I had every booking agent lined up, and we went from 68,000 chart metrics to the top 4,000, and was right there on the heels of Cole Wetzel's outselling him on songs that off of a song that wasn't even released, you know,
Wow.
and so it was just amazing to see that all come together, and it before it ever even got any kind of traction with playlists or anything like that, it was already in the top 40 on or finna hit top 40 on Billboard, and then I was blessed with New Revolution coming on board, and my first radio attempt, and man, we gave it everything we had, and technically I still say it's the number one. Post Malone had me posted up at number three, but I love him.
What an incredible story, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, we did what the town said we couldn't do in 15 years in a year, and it's all thanks to radio and everybody that's listened to it, all the fans out there.
So you have another song that I like, and this one is Never Leave Behind Your Guns, that was on the 2021 movie called Old Henry.
Yes,
And
sir.
I watched that movie years ago, and dude, that movie is so dang good.
Oh, it
I,
is.
I know it wasn't like a massive release, but everyone who I've talked to watched it, loves it. I think it's got like a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. And
Yeah.
that's so cool, man, that you were a part of that movie because it's so
Ma-
good.
My manager, Shannon Houchins, and label owner, he's the executive producer of that movie. And man, when I came in town, I got a song I wrote out in Reno. I said I was going through my divorce, and I said, it might be a good song for this movie, and they heard it and they were like, yeah, man. Of course it was like we ain't got the budget to pay you nothing, but but I was like, okay, I don't care, let's do it. And that's led to a lot of things, man. I just actually did a movie role in a new western that he produced. It's gonna be called The Isolate Thief with Sean Bean. And Sean Bean kills me in the beginning of the movie, but it was awesome to get that chance. And I'm also working on writing that soundtrack, and that's what led me to meeting Miss Rosalind Ross, that just directed my "What About Me" video, and she directed Father Stew with Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson, and she wrote and directed, and she's doing a movie about the Angola prison rodeo coming up, and she reached out to me and she wants me to score and write her soundtrack and also play a role in the movie. So it's like it's been a blessing, man, to see everything evolving the way it is.
Oh, that's interesting, man. And speaking of movies, TV, and also Billy the Kid, you should definitely check out Billy the Kid TV show on MGM Plus. It's
Oh, I
really, really
will.
good. It's excellent if you haven't watched it.
I'll have to check that out, man,
They
for
need to
sure.
get your song needs to be on the third season. I know they're making it right now.
Hey, man, if you got some hookups, hey, if anybody's out there listening, got some hookups, tell them I'm ready.
That's a must watch, man. Yeah, check that out in your spare time.
Oh yeah, man. John Fusco just reached out to me not long ago. He wrote and directed Young Guns 1 and 2, and he said that when he wrote that movie, it came from listening to Bon Jovi's "Wanted Dead or Alive," and he reached out to Bon Jovi and them, and he told me he's directing a new movie about NASCAR and about the early days of NASCAR. And he was talking to my manager, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I was listening to this one song by this, it's called We Ride, and that's what inspired me to write this series and or to write this movie." And so I've been in contact with him too, man. It's like he wants to use it as one of the theme songs for Thunder Road or something on AMC or something like that. And I've just been blessed with the doors that just God's keeps opening up, man, and to know that I'm able to inspire things like that, and with Netflix, my good friend Steve Trevino, the comedian, he had a Netflix series called Simple Man, and he he was inspired by Everyone's an Outlaw for that, and he used Everyone's an Outlaw as the intro and outro of his whole tour and that Netflix series. So it's like I've just been really blessed, man, with the movies and TVs things that are coming in.
Yeah, and speaking about different stuff, let's talk about Shades, man, with Colt Ford and Yellow Wolf.
Oh yeah,
Music video came out a little while ago. You're on it, they're on it. I mean, that's a fun song, man. Totally different. Not on your album, probably
yeah,
because it's a little bit different, but man, I
yeah.
like that one.
Man, it's awesome. I love Yellow Wolf and I love Colt. Me and Colt's been friends for a long time. Actually, I'm here at 8 Second Saloon. I remember opening up for him a couple years ago here, for like $250 or something like that. And uh, you know, I had Brandon Gilbert just rolled up in his bus like last minute while Colt's up on stage singing his last song, and came off the bus with a thing of chicken and biscuits and ran up on stage. You know, and it was like so cool to, that's, so I'm reliving these memories here, man, because that's when I met Brantley, and Brantley is such a good dude, and Colt's like one of my best friends, and you know, there's so much respect for that man. You know, he's helped so many people get their careers off the ground, and you know, I feel like he's always just been more about helping others than he is about himself, you know. And speaking of the Yellow Wolf struggles trying to call me right now, Struggle Jennings, me and
Oh
me
yeah,
and me
I've
and
interviewed
Struggle,
him. He's awesome.
yeah, me and Struggle and Yellow Wolf are doing Folsom Prison coming up.
Oh
Uh,
wow,
yeah, we got me Struggle and Yellow Wolf's about to do Folsom Prison on, I think it's May 16th or May 19th, and we're gonna be doing a show for Folsom Prison. It's gonna be pretty awesome.
that'll be wild, man. That'll be wild. That's a great lineup there.
Yes, sir.
All right. So these next questions are what we close with and ask everybody. So
Okay.
first question, what would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Man, my 21-year-old self, I would have to say quit looking quit looking back and don't get focused on looking too far in the future to know, because I believe that past is depression and the future is anxiety. And you know, take more things in the moment, and enjoy your ride. It's gonna be a good one.
Amen to that, man. Next question. What are you drinking lately? And if you don't drink alcohol right now, it could be anything refreshing you like to drink.
Man, you know, my new girl's got me hooked on these Pops. It's some kind of fancy good for you soda that I've been drinking, man. And I've just been paying more attention to my health, and who'd ever thought the outlaw would be trying to pay attention to his health.
And as you know, this is Rock Down South. So, what is something, or maybe a couple things that come to mind, that you love about the South?
Man, I love the resilience. I love the overcoming challenges and ingenuity that comes in the hospitality and their manners, and the moral compass comes from the South.
Hey, Bryan, thank you so much for being a part of the show today, man. Where can people find and connect with you online?
Man, it's Bryan Martin, music.com. And like I said, I'm all over the place on social media. Just check me out. You'll probably see a bunch of fakes on there, but you'll know when you got the real one.
And the latest single out from the album is called What About Me, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. What about
And
me?
and you just kicked off a big 27 tour date phrase. And I know it's titled the Years in the Making Tour. So this is a headline tour. Big congratulations on that, man.
Hey, man, my first headliner tour. Let's go, baby. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for listening today. Y'all go check out rockdownsouth.com. Follow us and see announcements for new episodes and live concerts. And make sure you go follow Bryan on all of his social media pages and give his latest album, Years in the Making, a listen. And as always, I'm Mark, and you've been listening to Rock Down South. See y'all next time.